Under the honey-gold glow of city lights, the night pulsed like a living organism. Cars glided down the wet avenue like sleek predators, their bodies smoothed with rain and money. Outside the grand restaurant, the pavement shone like polished obsidian, reflecting neon streaks that trembled under passing footsteps. Laughter drifted out through tall glass doors, high-pitched, champagne-light, careless. The kind of laughter that comes easily when life has never demanded a price. Inside, crystal chandeliers spilled glittering light over velvet seats and marble floors. A pianist played something soft and elegant, fingers dancing like silk over ivory keys. Elite families dined beneath arches shaped like crowns, their plates holding food more expensive than some people's rent. It was a place built not just for eating, but for displaying power, a stage where wealth performed itself gracefully. Arseny sat at the heart of this world as if born to it. His suit was tailored like a second skin, watch gleaming coldly on his wrist. He swirled crimson wine inside a crystal glass, half bored, half amused by the superficial glitter around him. His friends told jokes too loud for the room, laughed too easily, bragged about sports cars and vacations like children showing off their toys. Girls in diamond necklaces drifted by like colorful fish in an aquarium, eyeing Arseny with giggles and hidden intentions. He gave them a lazy smile. Charming, practiced, yet none held his attention for longer than a sip of wine. Until he noticed her, a girl near the counter, moving quickly between tables. She wore a simple blouse, the kind inexpensive but ironed carefully, as if respect for the job mattered more than fashion. Her hair was tied into a neat ponytail, nothing extravagant, nothing crafted for attention, and maybe that was why she drew his eye. Where others glowed with vanity, she glowed quietly with purpose. Each time she placed a plate down, she did it gently, as if she valued the work. Her voice, when she apologized for accidentally brushing someone's chair, was soft, like a violin in a room of trumpets. Her name tag read Alina. Arseny watched, curiosity blooming like a slow flame. She was not like the girls who chased him, who laughed too loud for his jokes or leaned too close hoping he'd take them somewhere expensive. She didn't even look at him. Not really. When their eyes met briefly, she smiled politely, not flirtatiously, not with expectation, simply because kindness was in her nature. The simplicity of it was disarming. He had been worshipped so long that indifference felt intriguing. On her break, she pulled a stack of thick medical books from under the counter, titles heavy, pages worn. She flipped through them, lips moving silently as she memorized terms. Arseny raised a brow. A waitress with dreams bigger than tips, interesting. He stood, hands in pockets, and strolled toward her table with the effortless confidence of someone who never needed permission. Leaning against the counter, he said, "You don't look like you belong here." She blinked, uncertain if it was an insult. "I work here after classes," she replied, voice quiet but steady. "It pays part of my tuition." Tuition. Medical books. A simple blouse instead of jewelry, the story assembled itself. She was fighting for something. He liked that. It was new. It was unpolished. Real. That night, he left thinking about her. And the next evening, he returned. Again and again. Each visit he asked for her section, always choosing a seat where he could watch her move. Their conversations grew from cautious greetings to small smiles, then longer talks. He walked her outside once, offering his jacket when cold wind brushed her bare arms. She hesitated at first, but his charm dissolved. Her guard slowly, like sugar in tea. Days folded into weeks, weeks into months. They began meeting outside the restaurant, coffee between her classes, quiet strolls on the university bridge. He drove her home sometimes, radio playing soft music while rain tapped the windshield like fingertips. She told him her dreams in fragments, how she wanted to become a surgeon, how hospitals scared her as a child until she saw doctors fighting for her grandmother's life. She admired them, wanted to be one of them, someone who held life in her hands and refused to let it slip away. He listened, fascinated by her passion, though he didn't fully grasp it. For him, life had always been easy. For her, each step forward was earned with effort. She fell in love with the man he could be, gentle in quiet moments, curious, unexpectedly warm when he laughed at something simple she said. She loved the version of Arseny she saw when they were alone, stripped of privilege, almost human. One night, Under a violet sky smeared with rain clouds, they stood on the bridge watching cars pass like fireflies. Drops of rain began to fall, first soft, then heavy. She laughed, tilting her face up. He watched her instead of the sky. Something about that moment, wet hair clinging to her cheeks, eyes shining with simplicity and trust, pulled him closer. He kissed her then, rain cold on their skin, hearts warm in their chests. She felt that kiss carve itself into her memory, permanent like ink. She trusted him. Entirely. Months later, standing in her small room, she stared at the pregnancy test in her trembling hand. 2 lines. Clear. Certain. Her heart raced, fear mixing with joy like storm clouds lit by sun. She thought of his smile, their nights by the river, the warmth of his coat around her shoulders. She imagined him holding her, saying they'd build a future together. She placed a hand over her belly, whispering, "You're ours." She dressed carefully, brushed her hair into a neat ponytail, and walked to the restaurant with hope fluttering like wings in her chest. When he arrived, she stood with shaking hands. "Arseny, I'm pregnant." Silence cracked open the world. His eyes widened, not with happiness, but shock. Then he laughed, not softly, cruelly. His friends joined in, smirking, elbowing each other like it was entertainment. The sound sliced her heart. She stood frozen, breath caught like a broken gasp. "A baby. Now," he scoffed, wiping a tear of laughter from his eye. "I'm not throwing my life away for this." She tried to speak, voice thin, desperate. "I thought we." He cut her off, pulled out a wad of cash, tossed it at her feet. Bills scattered across the polished floor like dirty feathers. "Use this. Take care of it. You're smart enough to know what that means." Her face drained of color. Tears filled her eyes but didn't fall, not yet. She stared at the money like it was poison. People were watching, whispering. She felt naked, small, humiliated. Her throat closed, unable to breathe in the place that once felt safe. She didn't pick up the money. She turned, walking out into the rain, steps unsteady, breath shaking like cracked glass. Outdoors, the city blurred into watery streaks, neon smudged by tears she finally couldn't hold. Rain soaked her clothes, hair clinging to her cheeks, but she kept walking. One hand clutched her stomach protectively. "You are wanted," she whispered to the life inside her. "Even if it's only by me." The following months were war. Morning sickness in crowded buses. Homework reviewed between dishwashing shifts. Nights spent crying silently so neighbors wouldn't hear. She studied anatomy with swollen feet, sat through exams with trembling hands. She worked until exhaustion blurred her vision, collapsed over textbooks and woke up with ink on her cheek. But every kick inside her belly was motivation, not burden. Pain turned into fuel. When Anna was born, tiny and warm, Alina held her close, and every broken piece inside her aligned. The world had thrown her into darkness, yet here was a new light sleeping against her chest. She kissed the infant's forehead, promising silently, "I will never fail you the way I was failed." Years stretched like long roads. Alina returned to university, pushing a stroller to lectures, studying during feedings. She washed hospital floors at night, changed into a white coat at dawn. She learned to suture not only wounds but her own heart. Mistakes hurt her, but she learned. Success encouraged her, but she stayed humble. Slowly, she climbed. Internship, residency, sleepless shifts, surgeries that demanded more than strength. They demanded soul. 25 years passed. The girl in the cheap blouse became a legend in medicine, chief surgeon, respected, unbreakable. Her hair carried strands of silver earned through long nights. Anna grew into a brilliant young woman, her mother's reflection in determination and grace. Together, they walked hospital halls, 2 lives built where one life was almost ended. One winter morning, snow dusted the hospital entrance like powdered sugar over cold stone. A code was announced. Emergency, critical. Nurses rushed, wheels screamed across the floor as a stretcher burst through the doors. Alina moved swiftly, professional, calm. But when she saw the patient, time slammed to a halt. Arseny. Older now, pride stripped away, eyes filled not with arrogance but with fear, raw, human fear. Tubes tangled like lifelines. His lips blue-tinged, breath shallow. He looked small, mortal. She stood at his side, silent, Pulse steady though old memories trembled faintly like ghosts behind her ribs. He didn't recognize the surgeon he once betrayed. He couldn't. She had risen far beyond that girl. "I'll operate," she said, voice smooth as steel. The operating room exploded into coordinated motion. Lights blazed overhead, instruments gleamed like silver truths. Alina washed her hands methodically, each movement precise. She had done this 1,000 times. But this time, history lay open on the table before her. She cut into the chest of the man who once cut into her future. Blood welled, warm and dark. Machines beeped like anxious hearts. Sweat gathered beneath her cap as she repaired valves, replaced fragments, fought death itself with sutures thin as forgiveness. Hours later, the monitor steadied. Heartbeat strong. He lived. When he opened his eyes in the recovery room, Alina stood at his bedside, no longer trembling, no longer a girl wronged. A woman forged in fire. He stared, confusion shifting into recognition. Horror washed over him. Not fear of death, but fear of memory. Tears filled his eyes, old arrogance collapsing like a broken tower. She spoke softly, like truth landing without violence. 25 years ago, you gave me money to end a life. Today, I used my hands to save yours. Her words cut deeper than any scalpel. He wanted to speak, to ask forgiveness, to undo time, but no sentence could cross the distance between then and now. He was alive because she refused to become what he expected. She turned and walked out, her white coat fluttering like a banner of victory. In the corridor, Anna waited with flowers, smiling. They walked away together, sunlight slanting through the windows like blessing. Behind them, Arseny lay crying quietly, alive, but forever changed. He would live, and remember, because destiny does not always roar. Sometimes it returns gently, like a heartbeat under a surgeon's hand. And the greatest triumph is not revenge. It is becoming everything they believed you never could. Under the same sky that once witnessed heartbreak, the city breathed like a beast of light and shadow. But now the scene widens, the story deepens, stretches, becomes heavier with detail, richer with memory, more human than before. What happened that day in the hospital room was not the end, just the moment the past opened its eyes. The world kept turning, slow and inevitable. And so did destiny. Arseny remained in the hospital for recovery. His heart, once reckless and unburdened, now depended on machines, drugs, and the very woman he had once discarded like an inconvenience. Every beep of the monitor was a reminder that life could be fragile, stolen instantly, and also returned by the hands you least expect. He lay awake at night, staring at the ceiling, the sterile smell of disinfectant lingering like guilt in the air. Nurses passed by, sliding curtains, checking vitals, adjusting IVs. None of them knew his history, but he did. He felt each memory like stitches pulling beneath his ribs. He remembered the restaurant, the rain, the sound of money hitting the floor. A life-changing moment that he treated like a joke. A girl crying on the wet pavement, a picture that returned now with painful clarity. What had she done afterward? How had she survived? The man who once believed he had power now found himself powerless, dependent on the person he had once wounded beyond apology. Sometimes at night, he heard quiet footsteps echoing down the hall. He hoped it might be her. He wanted to say words he never learned. "I'm sorry." The phrase felt too small, too late. He had no right to speak it. And yet, silence was worse. Meanwhile, in another part of the hospital, Alina stood in her office, dim light brushing over framed diplomas and photos. A picture of her and Anna, laughing in scrubs after Anna's first assist, rested on the desk. Another photo showed Alina years ago, holding newborn Anna, exhausted but luminous with love. A third one captured her receiving an award surrounded by colleagues, proof of a journey carved through fire. She looked at her reflection in the glass window, strong shoulders beneath a white coat, lines near her eyes marking nights without sleep, and silver strands in her hair that she wore proudly, like a crown earned through storms. Life had not been kind, but it had been just. It had sculpted her with pain, polished her with perseverance, and sharpened her with purpose. Anna knocked softly and entered. "Mom, you haven't eaten," she said, placing a lunchbox on the desk. "You'll faint in surgery one day if you keep forgetting." Alina smiled, the kind that softened even years of old wounds. "You sound like you're already the doctor and I'm the student." Maybe I learned from the best, Anna replied, teasing gently. They hugged. Arms strong, warm, familiar. Anna smelled faintly of antiseptic and lavender soap. A scent that spoke of childhood mixed with medicine, innocence shaped alongside sacrifice. Later, Alina walked through the corridor. Every step echoed with calm authority. Nurses greeted her respectfully. Patients watched her pass with gratitude in their eyes. She was known for more than skill, she was known for compassion. She spoke to families gently, held trembling hands during bad news, fought for lives others had given up on. People said her heart was steel, strong, sharp, but also soft enough to feel. They didn't know that it was once broken so deeply it had to rebuild itself piece by piece. On the 7th day after surgery, Arseny requested to see the surgeon again. When she entered, he sat up with effort, new weakness clinging to him like a shadow. The man who once stood tall with arrogance now bent slightly, humbled by time and consequence. He tried to speak but words collapsed into raw emotion. Alina, he breathed, her name trembling like a confession. I recognize you now. I didn't, at first. But your eyes, he swallowed hard. They're the same, just older, stronger. She studied him, not with anger, but with distance. People change, she said. Life changes them. He lowered his gaze. Shame flickered across his face. I don't expect forgiveness. I'm not even sure I deserve the right to ask. His voice cracked. I didn't think what I did mattered. I never thought about what happened to you after. She didn't reply immediately. Silence stretched like a thread, thin, almost breaking. He continued, words spilling, desperate. I was stupid, immature. I treated life like a game. I never imagined you would walk such a road alone. I never imagined you could. He stopped, breath heavy. Become this. Become more than I ever could be. She inhaled deeply, not out of struggle, but clarity. You made a choice. And it shaped me. But I shaped myself more than you ever did. Pain pushed me, yes. But love pulled me further. She looked at him, calm, unflinching. I don't hate you. Hatred is heavy. I learned to travel light. He pressed a hand against his chest. Not from physical pain, but emotional ache unfamiliar to him until now. Do you have the child? His voice wavered, afraid of the answer. I have a daughter, she said. Her name is Anna. At that name, something broke visibly inside him, a crack through a wall he had built long ago. Reality struck with the weight of years lost. He had a child, out there, grown now, living a life without him. Destiny had raised her, not him. And she knows. He asked. She knows everything, Alina replied. She knows who her father is. She knows why he wasn't there. She knows she was loved enough by one parent to not need the other. His breath stuttered like a failing engine. I would like to meet her, if she ever chooses to see me. Alina did not promise. She merely nodded with polite neutrality. It was not her decision, it was Anna's. Before leaving, she paused at the door and spoke without turning. You once gave money for an ending. Life returned it as a beginning. Then she walked away quietly, coat swaying like peace in motion. Arseny remained sitting, staring at his hands, the same hands that once offered money so casually. They looked different now, older, empty. Days turned into weeks. Arseny recovered slowly, each improvement a miracle he didn't feel worthy of. He learned humility through weakness, through needing help, through watching nurses half his age adjust his pillows. His old friends came to visit once, awkward, distant, uncomfortable with illness. They left quickly, promising to call, never planning to. Wealthy friends admire strength, not vulnerability. It was loneliness that finally taught him compassion. Sometimes he watched Anna from a distance when she passed by during rounds, not revealing who he was. She moved like her mother, confident, focused, gentle. Her smile reminded him of a night long ago when a girl stood in rain, glowing with hope. A chance lost. A life he abandoned. Yet here she was, powerful, independent, a living proof that fate didn't break her, it forged her. One afternoon, Anna finally approached him. She entered his room with a medical chart in hand. He sat up straighter, breath unsteady. She looked at him, eyes curious but cautious. You asked to see me, she said. He nodded. I did. She stood beside his bed, composed, professional. How are you feeling? He laughed softly, bitterly. Alive. Thanks to you both. A pause. Not uncomfortable, but loud with unspoken history. I don't expect you to call me father, he said quietly. I don't expect anything. I don't even know if I deserve a conversation. Anna didn't rush to answer. She studied him, the lines etched by time, the regret swimming behind his pupils. She had imagined this man countless times. Sometimes angrily, sometimes indifferently. But reality felt different. Softer, heavier, human. My father, she began slowly, is the one who stayed. The one who watched my first steps, held me when I was sick, braided my hair before school. My father is my mother. Her voice remained calm, without spite. Just truth. He lowered his head, tears spilling silently. She continued gently. But you are the man who gave me life. For that, I feel, not love, not hate, but gratitude. Because if you hadn't left, maybe she wouldn't have become who she is. Maybe I wouldn't have either. The beautiful paradox hung in the air like a revelation. Arseny cried. Not loudly, but with the rawness of someone finally seeing the cost of his past. He whispered, I'm so sorry. For everything. Anna nodded, accepting the apology not as forgiveness but as closure. We don't always get to fix the past, she said. But we can learn from it. She handed him a small photograph, one of her and Alina smiling beside an operating table. This is who we became. He held it like a relic. A treasure. A punishment. A gift. When she left the room, he pressed the photo to his chest, eyes closed, breath shaking. He finally understood what he had thrown away. Not just a girl, but generations of love. Months later, on the day Arseny was discharged, Alina stood by the exit. Not waiting. Just passing through. Their eyes met one last time. No anger. No pain. Just two lives acknowledging the storm they once shared. He spoke softly, voice steady but humble. Thank you, for my life. She replied, use it well. That will be the only apology that matters. He nodded, and walked away, slower than before, but lighter than ever. Alina turned back into the hospital, where a new patient waited, a new life needed saving. Anna walked beside her, coat fluttering, stethoscope glinting under bright lights. Together they stepped into a future crafted not by fate, but by effort, endurance, and love. Outside, winter began to melt. Snow softened into fresh rain, the same rain that once witnessed betrayal. Only now it felt like cleansing, gentle, forgiving, alive. Life had come full circle not to punish, but to heal. Because destiny is quiet, patient, it waits. And then, one day, it arrives, not seeking revenge, but revealing truth. The greatest victory is becoming everything someone thought you never could be. Under the golden haze of city lights, the night moved like a living organism, breathing through neon arteries and asphalt veins. Cars glided down the streets like silent predators, their headlights carving bright paths across rain-slicked roads. Each vehicle gleamed polished and expensive, like the people behind the wheels believed the world itself reflected their worth. On the pavements, the reflections of neon signs shimmered and fractured on puddles, creating a mirror image of a city that was alive, vibrant, and cruelly indifferent. Laughter spilled from restaurants like bubbles from champagne, high, careless, and untethered from responsibility. Inside the most exclusive of these establishments, light fell on crystal glasses, marble floors, and velvet chairs. Every object seemed to exist to display wealth, elegance, and privilege. At the center of it all sat Arseny. His suit fit him perfectly, as though it had been made to adhere to his posture and his movements. His wrist glinted under the light with a watch that cost more than most people earned in a year. He swirled wine in his glass, watching his friends laugh at their own jokes, each one louder than necessary. Girls in diamond necklaces drifted by with smiles designed to ensnare attention, yet none of it reached him. He was bored, yet alert, scanning the room as though seeking a distraction from the monotony of wealth and entitlement. Then he noticed her. Alina. She was not dressed for status or to charm. Her white blouse and black skirt were practical, pressed, modest. Her hair was tied neatly, nothing extravagant, nothing drawn for attention. She moved with careful grace, arranging plates, apologizing softly when someone spoke rudely, adjusting napkins with patient hands. She was efficient, polite, and unseen, except to him. He found the ordinary extraordinary. She didn't laugh at his jokes, didn't flirt, didn't chase him. She was not dazzled by his money or charm. And in that refusal to perform, she drew him in, like a puzzle begging to be solved. Her name tag read, Alina. Arseny leaned against the counter, casually, effortlessly. You don't look like you belong here, he said, curiosity threading his voice with the faintest edge of amusement. I work here, she said, voice soft but firm, as if asserting her right to exist. I study medicine. This job pays my fees. He raised an eyebrow. A medical student, supporting herself, unashamed of her position, unflinching. That combination intrigued him. There was something real here, something no amount of wealth could fabricate. He began visiting regularly, always choosing her section. He asked about classes, about life, about dreams. At first, she answered cautiously, guarded, polite. But over time, trust began to replace hesitation. He walked her home occasionally, the hum of the city around them soft and intimate. They spoke of ordinary things, rain, music, fleeting beauty in the mundane. And sometimes of extraordinary things, dreams of saving lives, of carving paths where none existed, of becoming something more than circumstance allowed. Weeks became months. Love, or something like it, blossomed quietly. They shared coffee between her study sessions, watched sunsets near the university bridge, whispered future plans beneath the weightless sky. One night, rain fell cold and relentless. He kissed her under it, and the memory imprinted itself on her like a fine, permanent line in her soul. She trusted him, completely, without reservation. Then reality intruded. She stared at the pregnancy test in her trembling hands. 2 lines. Impossible and undeniable. Her heart filled with storm, fear, hope, confusion, joy, all tangled together. She envisioned Arseny's reaction. Comforting, loving, proud. She imagined them telling their child about how love created life. She imagined a future where they faced everything together. She called him. Arranged to meet. She dressed carefully, smoothing her simple dress, tying her hair neatly. She walked into the restaurant where they had first spoken, where their connection had begun. She expected understanding, perhaps even celebration. Instead, she was met with derision. He laughed, loud, cruel, and without hesitation. His friends joined in, oblivious to the destruction their laughter caused. She froze, disbelieving. I'm pregnant, she whispered, voice shaking. With your child. You can't be serious, he scoffed. A baby. Now. I'm not ready for that. She tried to explain, but he interrupted, pulling out cash. He tossed it toward her as though it could erase consequence, as if money could obliterate responsibility. The bills fell near her feet, fluttering like insult made visible. Use this, he said. End it. I'm not ruining my future for you. Tears welled in her eyes. She did not pick up the money. She did not speak further. She turned and walked into the rain, hand on her stomach, whispering to the small life within, you're wanted. I want you. What followed was months of struggle. That would have broken most people. Pregnancy sapped her strength. Bills piled high. She worked through morning sickness, studied while exhausted, cried in silence when loneliness pressed down like a heavy weight. She watched families leave hospitals with newborns in arms and wondered why she had to endure the battle alone. Yet she persisted. When Anna was born, Alina held her tiny body close. The child's fingers curled around her thumb. Love, raw and unshakable, healed every wound. Alina returned to school. She balanced classes, work, and sleepless nights with a resilience that could have shattered ordinary hearts. Hospital corridors became classrooms of survival. She walked them with textbooks in one hand and diaper bags in the other. She studied between feeding sessions, collapsed over notes, and woke with ink smudged on her cheek. Years passed. Alina graduated, completed her residency, and rose to become a cardiothoracic surgeon. She learned to navigate human hearts with precision, to fight for lives that hung by threads, to wield both skill and empathy in equal measure. Sometimes she stood alone after a loss, questioning if she was enough. But then she saved another life. A child, a mother, a stranger, and every victory stitched her spirit stronger. Anna grew, bright, intelligent, inspired by her mother's example. Their home was modest. Second-hand furniture, faded curtains, but rich with warmth, laughter, and perseverance. Alina taught her daughter that strength was not loud revenge but silent perseverance, that dignity lay in survival, and that love could be both fragile and unbreakable. 25 years later, the story came full circle. On a cold, snowy morning, the hospital received an urgent case. Heart failure, critical condition, surgery required immediately. Alina prepared with calm precision. Nurses moved quickly, instruments glinted under blinding lights, monitors beeped, and life hung in the balance. Then she saw him. Arseny. Older, weaker, lines of regret etched into his face. His once proud posture collapsed into something vulnerable. He gasped for breath, eyes wide with fear, raw, human fear. He did not recognize her. She recognized him instantly. Every memory surged back. Rain, thrown money, humiliation. But that pain was tempered by decades of triumph and endurance. She had saved lives, raised a daughter, built a career through struggle and sheer willpower. "I will operate," she said. Her hands moved with steady grace. Instruments clinked. Machines hummed. She cut through tissue with precision born of years of practice, every suture a careful stitch in a life she had been denied once. Hours passed, tension and time entwined. She fought for his life as she had fought for hers and for Anna's countless times. Then finally, heartbeat steady. He lived. When he awoke, he saw her. Confusion clouded his face. "Doctor, thank you," he said, voice cracking. Recognition struck like lightning. His past arrogance fell away, leaving shame, fear, and the raw understanding of mortality. She spoke quietly, deliberately. 25 years ago, you gave me money to end a life. Today, I used my hands to save yours. Tears welled in his eyes. He wanted to apologize, to beg forgiveness, to turn back time, but words failed him. She had risen above. She had become everything he had doubted she could be. He remained humbled, alive, and confronted with the weight of his choices. Alina walked away. Anna met her in the corridor with flowers. "How was the operation?" she asked. Alina smiled softly. "Successful," she said. And together they walked toward the sunlight streaming through hospital windows, a new day illuminating a life that had overcome despair, betrayal, and pain. Arseny remained behind, a man forced to confront the consequences of his youth, witnessing a life he had rejected flourishing without him. The city outside shimmered with lights blurred by rain, but inside, one truth stood clear: the greatest victory is not revenge. It is rising above, becoming what they never believed you could be, and leaving the past behind, strong, unbroken, and unstoppable. Life had returned full circle. The girl abandoned in the rain had become a legend. Her daughter carried forward the legacy. And Arseny, once a boy who laughed at a life he could not see, understood at last what he had lost, and what it truly meant to live.